Is the United States a Christian nation? Well, obviously, from the beginning of our country, we've had thousands and millions of Christians enter our country and have been in our country. The founding of our country, we had Puritans, we had Anglicans, we had Roman Catholics, we had Lutheran, all sorts of religions. We had Quakers, Shakers, and so on. Estimates are at the beginning, when the Constitution was made, we had maybe 10% of the population went to congregations on a regular basis. Most of the founding fathers themselves, the main ones, James Madison, George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, these founders were not really Christian in any meanings. They might have said yes they were, just to not get flack. Thomas Jefferson was a deist. George Washington was a deist and also was a member of the Masons. Ben Franklin had some religious upbringing earlier, but then he basically went away from Christianity. Thomas Paine said his church was his mind. So the founding fathers were not true Christians in the true sense. The Constitution does not mention God at all in the Constitution. There's not one word to it, and the only mentions in the Constitution about God are the First Amendment, which was posted in the Bill of Rights afterwards, where it says that Congress shall make no law establishing a religion, and Congress basically shall make no law restricting the practice thereof. The only other restriction in the Constitution is about there should be no religious test. So if you're going for office, you should not have a religious test, so that was outlawed. There is an oath of office, but the oath of office does not have to be on the Bible. It could be on any book that you want. And John Quincy Adams did it on the actual law book. So the Constitution doesn't mention God. The Declaration of Independence has nothing to do with our Constitution, our laws, and our it's not legal, but it does mention God, under God. It mentions, not under God, but it mentions the laws of nature and the Almighty. And it's not really necessarily a Christian God, because Thomas Jefferson was a deist, and Thomas Jefferson, went through the Bible and put out all the supernatural things that Jesus might have done, and only looked at the words that he did. So it did mention God in a few spots. We're all created equal and endowed by our Creator, but it's not the Christian God that we're normally used to. There was a Treaty of Tripoli, and John Adams signed the treaty. This actual treaty with the Muslim country said that we were not a Christian nation, and it basically specifically said that. Other treaties after that did not say it, but it was just right after the signing of the Constitution, so it said that. You didn't see on our money In God We Trust until 1861, and that was basically after the Reform group. There was a Reform group in the 1830s that actually wanted to put God and Jesus into the Constitution in the preamble. It failed and it didn't make it, but they were pressuring Congress for changing the Constitution and doing that. So it was kind of like a capitulation, where they basically said, okay, we're going to put In God We Trust on the coins. They weren't on every coin in the 1800s, and it wasn't really until the early 1900s that every coin had In God We Trust. We had a Pledge of Allegiance. It was started in 1892. It was basically Pledge Allegiance to the flag, and didn't even say the U.S. or the United States flag until later. It wasn't until 1954 that the words under God were put into the Pledge of Allegiance. Most of our laws and our Constitution is basically respecting religion, allowing all religions, and being basically laws above religion. We don't want Sharia law. We don't want any fundamentalist law. We just basically want to allow all religions to flourish, and we want no basically government involved in religious practice. But are we a Christian nation? I mean, we are definitely a nation with lots and lots of Christians. We also have Hindu, Jewish, we have Muslim, we have all different types of religions. And when you look at, in the beginning, the Yankee spirit, that was basically Puritan spirit or Protestant work ethic. So we have a history of Christianity in our country. We have a history of many Christians in our country. But to say that the laws were based on Christianity, the Constitution was based on Christianity, that is not true. We are a secular country that has a majority of Christians, and we respect the Christian faith. We respect all faiths, and hopefully people in this time, when they look at what happens with Muslims, they have every right to have a mosque next to the World Trade Towers. They have a right to practice their religion, and government has no right to say to anybody they can't practice their religion. The First Amendment specifies that we should protect the religion, we should protect speech, and let's work on keeping our constitutional values throughout peace, throughout war, throughout any war on terror, throughout any time. That a constitution above all needs to be kept and followed.